Hello everybody, I am El Bristow and you're watching Ellitopia Gaming, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program Live. Today we have a very special mission planned. It is the first time we are going to be attempting a mission to Duna live here on Kerbal Space Program Live, which you can catch every week at twitch.tv/elbristow. Thank you for watching, guys, and I hope you enjoy this very important mission this week. You will see that we have started looking at the research centre, because at the end of last week's mission we had a lot of science points to spend, so we are going to start off this week's mission, or this week's live stream, by spending some of those points and unlocking some important bits and pieces that we are going to need. Now we have 508 science points available for us to spend, and we have quite a few things that we could choose to use those funds on. We have, let me see, there was something in particular that I did want to unlock, and I cannot remember for the life of me what it was. I believe, that's what it was. It was this one. Now this is one of the slightly cheaper ones. This is for 160 science, but this was the press mat barometer, which will help us to gather quite a few extra science points, and the Tellus mobility enhancer and the Tellus LV Bay mobility enhancer. These are the two extendable ladders. I don't really know the difference between them. One apparently can hold 1.5 Kerbals, while the other can hold half a Kerbal. But either way, I think we want to unlock one of these ladders, because we are going to need ladders on our lander. Yes, we are hopefully going to land on Duna, and Duna has not quite as much gravity, but much more gravity than certainly the moon on Minmus has. So jumping back into the lander to get off the planet is not going to be quite so easy. So we are going to need these extendable ladders, and the press mat barometer is just going to give us loads of science. So let's hit the research on that, and that leaves us with 348. So we still can spend some on this tier up here. Now that's given us access to the external command seat, the Rove Mate, the Rove Max, and the Rove Max. So these are wheels and a rover body and a seat for one of our Kerbals to take a ride on a rover. It would be a good idea to build a rover to send to Duna, but that wouldn't be any fun. We are going to send some Kerbals to Duna. However, we could unlock that ready for another mission, but let's see what else we've got. We have the electric propulsion system. That's very good for satellites. We have xenon containers, which are needed by the electric propulsion system. Plasma thrusters I've not really looked at. I don't really know how they work. This is part of the Kerbal Interstellar mod, I believe, as is the large argon container. I haven't really looked at those, so I'm not going to risk unlocking those just yet. Here we have the Probodobodine, what's that? Probe body. I believe it's a slightly smaller one than we have already, and the Probodobodine Octo 2, which is a very slimline probe body. Again, both of these are very good for satellites and probes and things like that, but we don't actually plan to launch any probes just yet. This one here is stuff for space planes, really. It's the turbojet engine, the ram intake, thermal jets, atmospheric intakes. So we don't really need those at the moment because we're not looking at space planes. Here we have, these are some more heat shields and things, the drilling unit for Kethane. Larger girders could be interesting for our space station. Clampotron Junior is for small docking areas. The radio attachment point is so that you can attach things to the side of other things, and then we've got a couple of other structural things here. So that one's an interesting one for a space station if we were looking at replacing the space station, which we might be doing in an upcoming episode. And then we have large control, which is the launch escape system, the cupola module. the Mark II lander can and the FLR1 RCS fuel tank. So these are good for landers and things like that. And obviously the launch escape system is good for if things go completely wrong in the middle of your launch. So these are quite good. These might help us to get some extra science from places like Minmus and other biomes of the moon. So I'm thinking maybe we want to unlock these here for 300 science. Boink, like so. Which leaves us with 48 science, which isn't enough for us to buy anything else. The cheapest thing we can buy at the moment is 90 science, and that's all spaceplane stuff, so we're not interested in that really at the moment. This has unlocked access to the inflatable heat shield, the grappling hook, the stack bi adapter. I'm not really too sure what that is. The quad adapter and the tri adapter. It also gives us the hub max, which is very, very good for space stations, so we might look at that. The Clampotron Senior, which is the large docking port, which again will be very handy, and the inline Clampotron, and that's a very fun piece of equipment designed for space planes with a docking port that pops out the top of your space plane. So I think that this is a good place for us to aim for this mission. We need to pick up roughly 502 science in total from our mission to Duna, so that we can unlock the metamaterials tech tree item to unlock these parts for when we start to look at replacing the Ellitopia space station. So for now we have unlocked our extendable ladders and we have unlocked our extra lander cans and things. So let's go and have a look at how we can apply that to our mission today. If we go into the vehicle assembly building, I have today been having a look at putting together a launcher and a lander for this mission to Duna. Now, it's quite a wacky looking device that I've put together, and you will see what I mean when we load it up. For the moment, I've just called it the Duna Launcher Mark I, and this has got a lot of push. Here we have the Duna Launcher Mark I, and this is a real beast. This has a lot of delta V behind it, and hopefully this thing can get us to Duna. Now what we have here is, first of all, our launch stage. We have some of the NASA solid fuel boosters, we have the NASA liquid boosters, and some extra fuel tanks for that. These will obviously all fire straight away, as well as this center tank here with our mainsail engine, the big beefy mainsail engine that we unlocked recently. So they will all fire to start. That will take us, I believe it should take us just outside the atmosphere. We should have just enough fuel, just enough delta V in this first set of engines to get us just outside the atmosphere. So once we get outside the atmosphere, and hopefully we've used up all this fuel, we will dump off all the extra weight of these empty tanks, and then we will be switching over to these guys, which is our nuclear rockets, which are extremely efficient outside the atmosphere, but not particularly powerful. So hopefully they will be just enough, they will have just enough power in them to circularize our orbit and get us heading towards Duna. Once they are spent, they will detach, and that will leave us with these 4 tanks on the extremities here, which have these very surprisingly powerful rockets attached to them with lots of extra fuel. These have parachutes, they have solar panels, there's a lot of gadgetry going on here. This is the start of our Duna lander. I'm hoping that by the time these go, we will either be on our way to Duna or even possibly at Duna, so that we can use this as our lander. And we have a tank in the centre here, which also has a couple of rockets attached to it. And obviously we have a pod and all our sciencey stuff. Now, we do have ladders around here. Whoops, there we go. Ladders around here, but we have just unlocked our extendable ladders, so I think it would make sense for us to be using those. Let's take these off, and we will place one of these up here. Let's check what that looks like extended. Ooh, that goes a bit too far actually, so let's see if the other one is a little bit shorter. Ah. Okay, well let's get it to line up first, might be a good idea. Oh yes, that is much closer to the size that we are looking for. There we go, so that gives them a little ladder down the side of the pod there, and then this will all still be attached, so we need another ladder, which will probably be the longer ladder. That's not going to plop quite into the right place, so I'm going to detach the snapping, place it there, and then we'll see how far down that goes. Oh yeah, that goes down nice and far. That should reach the ground once we are on Duna. So let's retract both of those. There we go. There we go, that keeps the side of our rocket nice and clean. So that is that. Now, we also unlocked some new lander cans, and I have a feeling... oh no, that's quite big, isn't it? Okay, and that's just a cupola. Oh, we can attach to the top of that though. Won't give them much to look at, but it's the right size too. Is it lighter? Mass 4.5, mass 4.1, and that only carries one crew. How can that be heavier? Mass 4.1, mass 4.5, and yet that is heavier. That must be some really heavy glass that they've got attached to that. Okay, well we won't use that on this occasion because weight is actually going to be very important on this mission. Let's get that out of the way. So, although we have unlocked them, we won't be using them on this particular occasion. Maybe we'll do something with those in the next mission. Perhaps we'll do another mission to Minmus or to the moon to pick up some extra science points from there. But there we go. This is the Duna launcher Mark 1, which hopefully will be able to get us to Duna. Now, let's just check our action groups and things, because there is one... yeah, I set that before, but I don't need that. Let's get rid of that. And that should be, yeah, that's for our solar panels, which are all attached to the sides of here. So that will extend them. So that's 0, so that's good. And we will have... how about, let's go for, on 9, toggle the antenna to extend those out and back again. Okay, save that. Who's our crew that's going out? We have Jebediah, Bill and Bob. This is a 3-man pod, but I don't really want to risk all 3 of them. I think perhaps we will leave Bob behind. He has been stranded in space once before, so let's not subject him to that possibility again. 2 people is more than enough. We only need 1 to actually run the ship. 2 will mean that we can have 1 in the ship and 1 out of the ship once we get to Duna, hopefully. There is an inherent risk in this mission that we may not be able to bring these guys back. I'm hoping we will, but there is a possibility that we won't be able to. I have fitted plenty of life support on here to last these guys for a year in space. I'm hoping that that will be enough. Well, not quite a year actually. With maximum crew 241 days. Oh, with current crew 361 days. So nearly a year they can last in space on these life support supplies. So let's well, let's take this out to the launch pad, shall we? Let's see what this thing can do. Close that, save that. Oh, let's give it a name. Got to give it a name. We can't just leave it called the Duna Launcher Mark 1. What are we going to call this thing? What are we going to... We're going to Duna. We're getting science. Let's call this the... Oh dear. Let's call this the Dunapollo. Dunapollo. In homage to the Apollo mission, which took the first people to the moon. This is going to be the first people to Duna. This will be an auspicious... I think I spelled that right. That wasn't too bad. This will be an auspicious day. If this thing doesn't blow up on the launch pad and it doesn't run out of fuel on the way to Duna. In fact, there's a very distinct possibility that this will not be an auspicious day. There we go. So this is the Dunapollo. We'll call it the Dunapollo 1, just in case. We will save it, and we are heading out to the launch pad, guys. Okay. So here we are out on the launch pad, guys, with the Dunapollo 1, which will hopefully take our men to Duna. And back again? Who knows? We will have to find out. We have Bill Kerman and Jebediah Kerman coming with us. Our staging should hopefully be all okay. I have checked this before we started our live stream, and it seemed to be all in control. However, I haven't launched this thing, so I couldn't say for sure whether or not this thing will actually do what we're hoping it will do. We are going to find out. So, are we? Are we ready? I think we are ready. I am going to do this launch. Oh, I have set the thrust limiters on these. Here we go. To stop them overheating, because the deadly re-entry mod that we're running means that these engines can very easily overheat on their way out of the atmosphere. So I have reduced the thrust limiters. That might have an effect on how this thing launches, but we'll find out. But it does mean that I can put this to 100% and not have to worry too much. We can put our SAS on, and we are ready for launch, guys, which I'm going to do without our UI showing. We are ready for launch in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we have a liftoff. Make sure we get plenty of screenshots of this thing on its way up. I know for a fact that this fuel's going to last us a while, so look at these engines underneath, look. Whoa. We will start our turn as usual at 10,000 metres, at which point we will have to start watching our vertical G-force, or our acceleration force. Here comes 10,000 metres, so we are starting our turn to the east. Slowing down our engine slightly. There we go, we're stopping at 45 degrees. We want to keep our Gs here at 2 Gs, which is this little notch here, which means we can turn our engines right down as the atmosphere is getting thinner. We will soon be ready to drop off these solid boosters here, because they are just about to run out of fuel. Nothing overheated, which was good. There they go. And they're away cleanly, which is good. We can now speed up a bit. Just a little bit. There we go. Still heading on the 90 heading east and 45 degrees up. Just hitting 25,000 metres. Let's have a look at where our apoapsis is now. It's at 45,000 metres already. That's fantastic. We can slow down even more now. These NASA engines are really, really powerful. I really do like these engines. Coming up at 35,000 metres soon, and our apoapsis is at 60,000 metres. We can slow right down at this stage, I believe, because we will soon be pushing our apoapsis out of the atmosphere. And there it goes, 74,000, 75,000 metres. If that gets to 80,000 metres, I'm going to, there we go, cut our engines. That means it will drop slowly, but hopefully it won't drop down below 70,000. Just means that we are going to be using our fuel a little bit more efficiently. Not a lot, but a little bit. What have we got showing here? Let's hide that, we don't want that. There we go, we're at 53, 54, 55. I might give us a little bit of a boost once we are at 60,000. Otherwise pushing our apoapsis out might get a little bit tricky, especially once we dump these and we go down to these engines, which are not quite as powerful. So here we go, we're at 60,000 metres. I'm just going to increase our acceleration slightly. That would also help me manoeuvre. I can point us down a little bit to hopefully start to circularise our orbit. Yeah, this is good. This is good. Oh, there they go. So we've detached those. We've still got a little bit of fuel left in this centre tank here. Hopefully with the significantly less weight that we have now, this should be enough to get us most of the way towards a circular orbit, or maybe not. Oh dear, okay, right, let's get these firing. These are not powerful enough. So let's bring this down and we will fire these, which certainly are powerful enough. It's getting very loud now. Sorry for the noise, guys. Unfortunately, this means we're using fuel from here. Like we're using a lot of fuel from here though. Strange. Oh, we're using the fuel from these, okay. Right. We are in orbit. We have a 81,000 by 102,000 meter orbit. However, we have used a lot of the fuel that was intended for our lander. Now, we can transfer fuel out of here into here, which we will do. It won't leave us much fuel for our transfer stage. In fact, it doesn't look like it's going to leave us any fuel for our transfer stage. So, since these are the more efficient engines, I'm going to do it the other way around. I'm going to put... Oh, oops, I didn't mean to do that. I'm going to put all our fuel into these tanks in the centre so that we can use our more efficient engines first to get us to Duna. If we get to Duna. And then once we've done that, we will transfer any remaining fuel back into our lander. However, it is very much starting to look like this might be either a flyby mission or a one-way landing mission. We will have to see how that goes. There. Out, out. Okay, so we have redistributed our fuel so that it is supplying our most efficient engines. Ideally we could do with dumping these off, but I didn't attach any stack separators to those. Now what we need to do is disable all the engines. Let's go like so. Can I move these up here? There we go. Now if I do that, no, everything still fires, so I do have to manually deactivate each of these. So shut down engine, shut down engine, shut down engine, shut down engine, do 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 do, do 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 do. Okay, so that is all our lander engines shut down. So hopefully now these will be able to do all of the heavy lifting. I was going to say, but that's probably not the right phrase. So we are inside the orbit of Duna. So what we need to do is first of all leave the orbit of Kerbin so that we can head to Duna. Now, in order to do that, we ideally want to burn at our periapsis and burn us outside. Whoa, that was too far. There we go. That will burn us so that we leave the atmosphere. However, if we're clever, we might actually be able to, for example, use the moon as a slingshot. Which would take a lot less fuel, I believe. Whoops. Right, 6 minutes, oh no, 51-second burn to slingshot off the moon there. Or if we had done what we were going to do, 54 seconds. Not a huge amount of difference. There we go. But is there a better slingshot that we can do? How would we want to do it? We'd want to be pulled by the moon to speed us up. So that would mean going slightly later, I believe, or slightly earlier, so that we come in behind it. Okay, so the periapsis is the place to do the burn, and it's going to be a 54-second burn, which should be no problem for these atomic engines. So, let's get ourselves lined up, shall we? Let's spin ourselves around. We should have plenty of electric charge, because we brought about 1 million solar panels with us. I did even bring a docking port in case we needed to stop to refuel at the space station, and actually that might not be such a terrible idea. I wonder if that's something that we should consider doing. Would be tricky if I set that as a target and put a maneuver here. How quickly can we get? Oh wow, okay. Let's get rid of that. So if we burn soon, we could actually get an intersect with the space station pretty easily. Right, I think that's what we're going to do, guys. We're going to do a 10-second burn there, like that. And we are going to go and meet the space station. 2.3 kilometres. 2.4 kilometres. Okay, that'll do. We are going to go to the space station and refuel, and then head off to Duna. That's a much better plan. So, let's spin ourselves back round to our new target, which is going to be... oh, it's going to be a weird one, isn't it? Because we're correcting our inclination at the same time. So... where is it going to be? It's probably going to be... downwards. Yeah, there it is, over there. Stop! I have to turn the RCS on to stop. Here we go. Ready to turn the SAS back on. Right there. There we go. And we can turn the RCS back off in a moment and let our electrical charge do the rest. Right, so an 11-second burn in 1 minute 43 seconds will take us to intersect with our space station.